Okay, gonna be hopefully a short video, but I guess in this day and age, where, people, there's always trends, right? Like what's in, what's out. And I get that, go with the flow. And in some ways, it will help you in certain aspects as far as availability or tradability, where if you're going with the flow and if you buy something, and even if it's not for you or you want something else, well, if everyone else wants it, then it's more valuable. Or, you know what I'm saying, though? Because the stores know it'll be easier to trade because there's high demand. But, well, there's always some type of, facts or information about these things. Truth is a whole nother element. Like, for example, if somebody said, well, what? I remember back in the day in New York, the friend I knew that had a gun store, they asked me what the best gun is, but then asked me what the best gun for me to sell is. And he would say High Point. He says, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is, a High Point, right? I mean, especially with the carbines, they could be a good time, and but are they the best quality? No, but they're cheap and they sell. And there's, a lot of young people, they're going to buy it with more discretionary spending. They're just going to go buy back then, $200, $300 carbine in $940 or $45, and have fun at the range. And it is what it is. And it's low cost investment, and so there's just more volume. So let's say you sold so many of those per week versus something that's more expensive. Now, is that, let's say, a better quality gun? Is that better quality gun? Sure. But as far as sales, no, for the store. So you get what I'm trying to say. Like, what is and what is, it depends on what your question is, I guess, or what your intention. But what I'm talking about here is 940 and 45. What I really want to discuss, what I really want to discuss is this imagination that 40 cal is bullshit. The level of disrespect for 40 caliber, to me, it's at the point where it's insanity. But what it does is it makes it the best time and the cheapest time to buy 40 caliber. I mean, you can get 40 caliber. I mean, like, I picked up 50 rounds of this gold dot. It's 40 caliber for $20. That's unheard of. And so, I mean, because nobody wants it. I mean, yeah, people are still buying 40, but just not on the same level as 9. 9 is the number one right now in America, in the world, obviously. And then obviously 45 behind that. I mean, people buy and still shoot 40, but it's just such a less smaller amount. And when it comes to stores, when you go to a store to buy or trade at a legal FFL gun store, their 40's been sitting around. So you could probably negotiate and say, hey, how long has this been here? About 6 months or a year? Would you knock off, 30, 40, 50%? Maybe they will. I'm talking about used, and because it is what it is. So my point is, though, but we're not talking about the guns themselves. We're talking about the cartridges. And the biggest things about people say 9mm is, well, it's cheaper. It's cheaper. All right. It's only cheaper in one aspect. If you're talking about in a full metal jacket, like a 115 grain, yeah, the range ammo, right? Because most people are not going to use this for carry, right? Well, that's a whole nother topic. If shit is the fan, I think shit is the fan. Full metal jacket is the way to go. Because you could have stocked up cheaper, overall most reliable type of feeding, and and in that case, when you're not worried about lawyers and lawsuits, that penetration, I think, is better than expansion, because I think a lot of times when it comes to expanding on pistol cartridges, bullets don't get bigger. They don't grow. Whatever the weight is, 115, 135, 124, that's a 50 grain. 165, 155, 165, 180, 180, 230, 230, 230, 78, and 185. The point is this: they can't take steroids. Once their weight is set, their weight is set. Whoa, it expand. When a bullet expands, it's just like a reptilian. It's changing shape. You're hoping it's going to change shape. That's another thing, but it's still the same weight. So let's say a bullet is this long and this wide, right? Fucking example. Oh, but it's going to expand. Well, as it expands, it's becoming shorter this way. So in reality, when you talk about wound cavities, that's a whole other topic. In a way, what you really were trying to get with hollow points is making the bullet stop in the threat. Obviously, in this case, you generally want to say in the criminal, because unless somebody's a criminal threat, then legally you're not allowed to shoot them, right? So the point is, so you get what I'm trying to say. So, and you're trying not to cause damage past that threat. But the idea of hollow points is some magical thing, and that, one, they always work, and they expand, and two, look, marketing, advertising, and hype and gouge is all, you know, so part of the cost. If you can get, hollow points, without fancy packaging, and, for example, this would be the, if I was doing 40, I got this at a much better deal. It's discounted for only $20. That's fantastic ammo. Cheaper advertising on this one, so, but that's not what I paid on that. But the point is, you might find that cheaper somewhere else. Okay, so we're getting off topic here. So what's my point? The point is, so 9mm is cheaper, right? Yeah, that's it. For the range, I get that. Sure, get a 9, shoot range, okay. But then they'll say, well, 9mm is cheaper, but they'll say, but 40 is snappy, though. 40 snappy, okay. All right, 40 cal. So 40 cal's got more power. No, ballistically, 9mm is the same. Well, it's better, actually. I've heard that. So which one is it? It's more snappy. So it's 44 Magnum snappy? It's either a cartridge is equal or less, or it's more powerful. And I can't just stress it around. Like, in every category, and we'll talk about different categories, because I don't know if you know this when it comes to calibers. It sounds stupid here, but not everyone here is an expert. Each caliber, so I start off, this is 40 caliber, it's 9mm, which is 3.355, so let's call it 35, or if you want to round up, 0.36, but in reality, 35, right, and then 45. The diameter is the diameter now as far as expansion. So go this way, but if it expands, the bullet's going to get shorter, top to bottom. Point is this, though. Each caliber will have several different loads when it comes to weight. And the lighter you go, the diameter is going to be the same in the case, but the bullet's going to start getting shorter. What's the benefit, pro and con? Well, let's just talk about what happens. The lighter you go, you can generally now push that same bullet faster. And they say, well, why don't you just do that? Well, there's pros and cons to all that. The lighter you go, the faster that bullet will be in that load. But also, for thicker targets, auto glass, doors, someone who's very fat or wearing a lot of clothing, someone who's wearing a lot of clothing and very fat. Let's just say a criminal was dressed up like Santa Claus and he's 400 pounds. In your 9mm, do you want to be using a 115 grain hollow point? Or maybe a 135, right? Maybe a little slower on this. But then from within there, then you have designs of the hollow points and the technology that. Then you can also have bullet, rifling and twist just rate of the pistol you're using. That's a whole other factor. And then you have the barrel length you're using and the firearm you're using. That's a whole other factor. But most people carry these little micro 9s with short possible barrels. So that's a whole other thing. The biggest thing with the 9mm, it's got so much more capacity. All right, maybe at best between 9 and 40 in the same exact size. Maybe you're carrying 1 or 2 less rounds of 40. Now we could get into, we could extend magazines. We do that. No, we're just talking about in all pretend purposes, no matter what. If equal size guns, let's say a Glock, 19 and a Glock 23, same gun in a sense, but one's 40, one's 9. Standard capacity 15 versus like 13 or 14. Is the 23 14? What's gonna hurt my choke? Let's talk about like a P30 or VP9, so it'll be 15 versus 13. Yeah. But now they upgrade the magazines to 17, so that would make the 40, 50. The point is, though, so in the same exact size gun, the same mag, 9's going to hold maybe 1 or 2 more rounds, give or take. Now, compared to 45, most of the guns have to be modified to be much larger frame. If you're talking about, especially with double stack firearms, that's a whole other category. So, but in reality, everyone talks about capacity. It's, we're talking about why everyone hates 40 cal, right? So, okay, so 9mm is more capacity. All right. Let's talk about capability. It's self-defense. someone's gonna rob or kill you or whatever. It's gonna be quick. It's not gonna be all drawn out. It, what do you want? You're talking about lowballing it, lowballing it. 20% more power, to 50% more power when it comes to 40 cal over 9mm, and I just can't stress that enough. So, but it's the 10mm short and weak. You shouldn't even be carrying 9 to 40. You should be carrying 45 to 40, because many 40 loadings have more power than 45, and I love 45, but it's a heavier bullet. Now, are we talking about plus P? Plus P is a different caliber designation. If you want to talk about plus P, it's I thought 9mm you bought it because it's cheap or less recoil. Once you go to plus P 9mm, it's not cheap no more. No one's making you cheap plus P 9mm or plus P plus, and no one's really making you cheap hollow points, or something you want. This is the cheapest hollow point you can probably find. A lot of people wouldn't want to carry that because it's much softer lead and less quality control and etc. 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 But like plus P 9mm or plus P anything or hollow point anything is not going to be cheap compared to full metal jacket. So since you're only going to go to the range full metal jacket, you don't want to protect yourself with hollow points, right? So it's not cheap anymore. Or it's not going to be low recoil because 9mm plus P had your micro 9. You might have the same or less recoil in like a mid-size 40 caliber, like an HKP 2000, right? The biggest problem with 40 caliber was when it came out, you had manufacturers making designs that were really 9mm and just put a 40 cal barrel in it. Maybe at best upgrade the spring, or maybe they didn't, and the guns beat themselves to death. Okay, especially like a 155 grain, which is light for caliber for this, but high velocity. So if you get a 40, you want a 40 caliber that was designed for 40 caliber, not a, in a sense, downgraded 9mm, because 9mm was built for one specific type of load, and now you just stuff a 40 cal barrel in there, and that gun's going to beat themselves up, which means it's a more powerful cartridge. Well, I thought the whole thing 9mm is 40 cal is a weak cartridge, or 9mm is the same ballistic, bunch of bullshit. You're lying to yourself. Okay, we're talking about 300 and change foot-pounds of a 115 grain standard load. Same thing here on 115 standard loading. You get to a 135 grain, 300, and it's not even, in this case, I don't think it's even hitting 350 pounds a day. It's like 330 and change. And you get to, but this is plus P here. You get to a plus P 124. 9mm you have 115, 124, 147, where the bullet's getting longer or shorter depending if your grain is going up or down. But in this case, that's a plus P. So, okay, but then are you comparing plus P 9mm to 40? What about 40 plus P? Everyone forgets about that. They'll compare 45 plus P and 9mm plus P to 40. What about fucking 40 plus P? Everyone forgets about that. They make 40 plus P, and that we'll get to that. But even let's just say 9mm plus P, 124 grain. So it's plus P higher pressure, 124 grain. What are we talking about? Maybe at best 400 pounds of energy. Especially, if you're using a real short barrel, 3-inch barrel or less than that, you're not getting that. You want at least 4 to 4.5 inch barrel to get that type of velocity. Well, that plus P 9mm, which is an upgraded 9mm higher pressure. All of these cartridges here at standard pressure destroy that high pressure round for 9mm. Oh, let's talk about it. You have a 165 punch, which in 40 cal you're gonna have 155. 165 and 180. 180 is going to be on the higher side. Now, of course, there's extremes like on 135 or 200 grain for hunting loads. Very rare, very hard to come by. You're going to find the big three. Okay, so 165 is like right in the mid for caliber. So it's already heavier than this 124 by a substantial amount. You're talking about over almost 40 grains, over 40 grains, which is about a third of the weight of that. So this is a third of the weight heavier. Okay, and this 165 is doing about the same velocity, and that's just a standard load. So this is slightly slower than that, slightly. So maybe 11 and change versus 12. But this is how much more? I told you 40 grains. So 40 grains is about 30% heavier. So about the same velocity. This is coming in wider, heavier. 30% heavier, give or take. And this is the plus pressure. If this was not plus pressure, you're talking about a big difference. So I mean, here you're having basically like around 400. I think it was 60 something pounds of energy, and that's standard pressure. Um, and then you go to the 155 grain here, which this is coming at 500 pounds of energy. Now remember though, the wider you go in any caliber, the bullet gets shorter. So worse for deeper penetration on a thicker target or heavier target. But you know, that's a trade-off. Maybe you want a higher impact, but you're not worried about deeper. You know, so if it was an animal like a bear or some kind, maybe you want something or heavier boned. You want the heavier bullet. But then again, anyways, the point is though. So velocity, energy is a factor when it comes to cartridges, but weight is a huge factor too, because bullets don't lose weight. You know, once you have distance, right? The further it is away from you, it's losing velocity. As it loses velocity, it's losing massive amounts of energy, but it's never going to lose the weight. Now, once it hits, if it starts falling apart, but that's the point. Point is though, the weight's always the weight. Velocity will vary depending on the barrel size and the distance to the target. The point is though, this 155 grain standard pressure, 500 pounds of energy, that's 400 pounds at a plus P. So you'd have to go to plus P 9mm 124 grain. And this is 155 grain. So it's 30 grains heavier. 120, so 30 grains. What's what 30 grains of this? A quarter? Yeah, 1/4. So this is 25% heavier. All right? 25% heavier. And how much more power between 400 pounds and 500 pounds? Well, this is 400 pounds, so 100 pounds is a quarter of this. This is 500 pounds. So this is 25% heavier and 25% more energy than that. And that's plus P. This is not. So if someone's mugging you or you have time for 1 or 2 shots before you die, they're running at you with a knife, would you like to have 25% more power? I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's just, I mean, oh, but if you can't control the recoil, okay. You understand what I'm trying to say? 165 grain, going high. No, it's like this is the Sig Crown, great design. You're talking about like I think 400 and something. Is it 430 and change in energy, and then you get to some cheap Winchester hollow points, like this black box here, 180 grain, around 400 pounds of energy, and you have these great Spirit Gold dots, one of the best 40 cal rounds. Or in any caliber, 944 Spirit Gold dots are great. You're talking about over 400 pounds of energy, but this is 180 grain. So energy is going to be based on velocity and weight, and obviously the heavier the bullet, the lower the velocity, so it'll be less energy. But you're misfactoring in, you're getting hit by the bullet though. And obviously the velocity and the weight combined is the energy, but the weight is a factor. So getting hit by a bigger bullet is always going to do more damage. As that bullet passes through you, things have to move out the way for the bullet to go through. Get the fuck out the way. Skin separates, muscle separates, tendons separate. And in any caliber, the heavier you go, the longer it's going to be. And the longer that bullet's going to be as it's passing through, it's going to create a larger wound, because the bigger it is as it's passing through, it's tearing more flesh. If the shorter something is, it might hit faster, but at the same time it passes through, it's shorter, and so things move to get the fuck out the way, and then they're going to try to close back up immediately. So anyways, yeah. And then we didn't even get to like the civil defense. So these civil defense ammo, so this is about as hot as you can get, 9mm. That's about 460 pounds of energy, but that would be, even though it's listed as a plus P, holy shit, these things, but it's very light for caliber. It's 50 grains. It's good in some aspects. It's I don't know exactly for heavy barrier, because it's very light for caliber. But you're talking about over 2,000 feet per second. Now they make these in 45 and for 40. I don't have any in 40 right now because I shot them all. But the 40 is going to come in at higher energy and more power, and large diameter. But that's great carry load. But that's very expensive too. You're talking about over $2, between $2 and $3 a shot. Is what it is. 45 standard ball ammo. Somewhat 230 grains, maybe 350 to 360 pounds of energy. Big boy, 230 grains. I've done bad to say about 45. Same thing with the 45 hollow point, 230 grain. But you're talking about sub 400 pounds of energy. Same thing here with these 230 grain HSTs, great round. But then you have these civil defense. This is a 78 grain, but you're gonna come in at around almost 600 pounds of energy. But remember, it's lighter caliber. It's going extremely fast. But that's considered also plus P. And this is a standard 185. So a standard 185, the low end, 45 is coming in around 185, 200, and 230. Now there's always different things. You might have a 210 or a 220. But those are the big three. The low end of 40 cal, the low end of weight of 45 is going to be around 185, which is exactly where the high end of 40 cal starts, which is around 180. So essentially these are about the same weight. The difference is, though, this is 180 with a 40 cal diameter. This is 185 with a 45. So this is going to be a longer bullet because the way the weight is distributed than this. So with the same loads, essentially this would have deeper penetration because the way the weight's distributed. But with both full power loads, like this is coming at 970 feet per second. This is coming over 1,000. Now, so around the same in a sense, but and from everything I've seen people testing 45 ammo, most 45 ammo is really based off of a full 5-inch government 1911. It's really a slow cartridge until you get, even when you get the plus P. But so if you're using like a 3-inch 45, you're not getting any of that. You're losing a lot of velocity. It's still a big boy bullet, but especially when it comes to hollow points, where you're expecting that hollow point to do hollow point things, it's really a lower energy round. I think 45 ball ammo is fantastic. And when it comes to 45 hollow points, I think HST is probably going to be your best bet overall. These are great, go with their body armor, but I think they have their limitations too. But they're great, and they're very expensive and hard to find. I think HST's 230 is going to be very good for expanding, even out of 3-4-inch barrels. So the point is this, and then we didn't even get to, I don't have 40 plus P. 40 plus P, you're talking about, you can get 40 plus P ammo, 500, 600 pounds of energy. So it's insane. And then you can go even higher than that if you get a 40 plus P and 135 grain. If you want to go real light for cal, dude, it's scorching. So you could get 40 cal plus P ammo that's really touching some 10 millimeter, on the lighter side 10 millimeter, or around the standard, because most standard 10 millimeter ammo they sell at the stores is pretty neutered down. The point is this: I'm not saying 40 cal is more powerful than 10 millimeter, because you have to talk about the whole range. Because you can't say one cartridge represents the whole range, because even within here you have, between these two, you're talking about 400 and change of energy, 500. Oh, this is more powerful in velocity, but this is 180 grain. This is 155, and to say that a 155 grain is going to do the same amount of damage as 180, well, there's factors to it, and designs and etc. But when it comes to deeper penetration or barriers, the heavier the bullet, it's going to push shit out the fucking way. But if you're not worried about that, then maybe you want that high velocity, a lower weight bullet. It really depends what you want to do. My point is this, though. I just want to represent that these are all viable cartridges. But then also, when you get the plus P or plus P plus, price is out the window. Now it's going to be fucking expensive. You get the hollow points and anything, it's going to be fucking expensive. You get the plus P plus and everything, and then plus P and plus P plus, it's going to wear your gun out faster than standard pressure. So all across the board, plus P plus, and hollow points are expensive, and plus P is going to wear your gun out faster than regular. So you want to watch your springs. The point is, 9mm is a great cartridge, but to literally say that 40 cal is shit, or it's just stupid, or it's not effective, or why? Why? Because literally, 40 cal in 155 grain is matching the weight of around a 357 Magnum, which on the high side generally is 158 grain. So 158 grain 357, anywhere from 1250 to at best maybe 1400, have a 4-inch barrel. That's a stout cartridge, and that's going to be more powerful than this. But this is matching that. This is 500 pounds energy, depending on your barrel length on your revolver. this could eerily be very close to that, okay? But the difference is it's having higher capacity and faster to reload. So I'm not lying. The 7 Magnum and 158 grain, if it's full power load, it's going to be more powerful than this 155 grain. But you could get very similar performances. This in 155 grain with 500 pounds of energy is a stout load. And then when you go to 180 grain, it covers the low side of weight 45 and does a great job. And in my opinion, penetrates even better because of the way the weight distributed. And forget about if you go to plus P. And then when it comes to 9mm on the high side, you got 147, which I don't have 147 here. But even the 147 9mm, even if you go to plus P 147, so heavy for caliber and even high pressure for caliber, it wouldn't even touch a 155 grain. So this would be heavier, and this is standard pressure. And it's going to be more powerful in every category. So even when you ask 9mm to do more or plus P, which is going to wear your gun out faster, the 40 caliber resting 40 caliber standard pressure is more powerful. Of course, within any gun, any caliber, you want to read the data, and then we'll look at ballistics that people are actually testing and see if they're lying. Some brands, I think, exaggerate a little, or they, at best case scenario, were they testing with an 8-inch barrel, and they're like, oh yeah, and you're never going to see that velocity. But if I find Winchester, Remington, and Federal were pretty solid brands overall, and Sig, that when I shoot them, they don't feel like, well, that's really kind of underpowered. So my point is this: only 9mm full load jacket. That's where you're going to get your free ride of being cheap and low recoil at 115 grain. And I get that. 9mm is very versatile, and it's light. And carrying ammo is light, and I get that. And it's easy, and it's cheaper in here. But when it comes to defending yourself, you're not in real life. I'm not shooting tons of, but I'll shoot 40 cal, 180 grain at the range a lot. But when it comes to self-defense, I'll take this over this any day. 45 is great, but then between these two, they are similar in some categories. In other categories, this is more powerful. You really got to go to like 45 plus P, okay? Really, and I know this is gonna hurt some people's chocha, but even 45 caliber plus P, you'd be lucky to get over 400 pounds of energy, sometimes maybe 450, depending on the load, and then really good, depending on what you're talking about, a full-size 5-inch barrel. And then 45 is a great cartridge. The amount of energy and velocity you're gonna get in 40, in my opinion, it's the best of both worlds. It really is. Similar capacity to this, but similar damage to this, and power, and in some ways more power. You know, everyone else, this is 500 pounds of energy. There's not one cartridge here that has 500 pounds of energy until you get to this. This is a very specific round, which is civil defense, which is super light for caliber. So yeah, it's got 600 pounds of energy, but this is 78 grain, so you know, very light for caliber, and that's a totally different ballistics. What it's trying to do, it's very good for. I want to be careful how I say this, but thin-skinned targets. You know what I'm saying? No, but something's behind barriers and everything. You know, and it will go through 3A body armor, but as far as going through steel, you know, or a car door and everything, and glass, I don't know exactly with this very thin bullet, how that would. And it's a collared stopper, you know, it was hollow. So my point is this: I hope you learned something. That 40 caliber isn't bullshit. 40 caliber is an amazing cartridge that, in theory, if we keep the mag stock, to only hold 1 or 2 less rounds, but to do everything better of stick. Because let's forget about plus P. We're talking about 9mm versus 40. Because if you say, what about 9mm plus P and plus P plus? Okay, then you compare it to 40 plus P. And the 40 plus P will destroy both these cartridges like the wrath of God. There's no comparison. The 40 plus, so we're talking about even stock 40s destroying both these cartridges in many categories. And in every category in this. So, you know, when you're talking about stock 40 cal resting between 400 and 500 pounds of energy, not plus P, 9mm is not touching that level of power. So, yeah. Best parts 9mm is the capacity. You know, and in your pistol 15, 17 rounds, that's nice. You know, but you can get 13 or 15 rounds in your 40. Now, if you're talking about it, once adding extensions on the magazines, that's a whole other thing. But I choose not to do that because I worry about reliability. So that's up to you. Carry an extra magazine. But for me, I really prefer 40 caliber, and I just can't stress it enough. And I've carried and I shoot all these. They're fantastic cartridges. They really are. You really are. So, anyways, hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. That 40 caliber is not bullshit, and 40 caliber is, wow, it is trucking. It is a hot cartridge in anything. 135, 55, 165, and 180. And then if you throw on plus P, it's not even funny. It's not even. Look up the ballistics of a 135 grain plus P by like Underwood or by Buffalo Boar. I mean, it's gonna hurt you. It's not even compare. You can't even compare. I mean, you can't even compare it. The one Buffalo Boar was coming in, and I forget the grain on that. Was it 180? But I don't remember. But it was coming out of 580 pounds of energy for plus P. Not even plus P plus, but plus P 40. 580. So compare that to a regular plus P, 400. You know what I'm saying though? So you're talking about 180 more pounds of this. This is 400. So half of 400 is 200. If a plus P40 is coming at 580, but half of 400 is 200, this is 180. You're talking about, so even 40% more power, 40, or really 45%, about 40 to 45% more power on a 40 cal plus P versus a 9mm plus P. And if 45% more power is nothing, then I guess nothing matters then. What does it matter? Carry a 22. So what I'm trying to say is there's so much potential with 40 cal that you're missing out on. Still buy a bunch of 9mm. Cheapest to shoot, yeah. That's fine. Get your trigger time in, But when it comes to protecting yourself, if that moment happens and shit hits the fan, maybe still have the 9 obviously for volume and everything, but for carry, what do you carry? Maybe 1 or 2 extra mags at best. You're talking about, self-defense. You'd rather have the power of this and to say, oh, all pistols are weak. Okay, if all pistols are weak, carry a BB gun. I'm talking about percentages and odds. Look up the fatalities and statistics of 40 caliber versus 9mm. And then, the FBI said this and guys, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived to think that a 115 or let's make this standard pressure or 120, because we're still talking about standard pressure, because then we have to compare it equal to equal. A 115 or a 124 grain, or even a 135 grain standard pressure 9mm, which is normal 9mm, compared it to normal 40 caliber, there's no comparison. In any category, barrier, glass, anything, and anything, going through doors, everything, in every category. And every category, this is better. Oh, cost. Okay. Recoil. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Work your wrist out. I'll see you guys around.